good morning on the baby walk. So one of the things that's a really powerful tool in any manager's toolkit, and they really should use as often as possible, and it's a proven technology that's used in different contexts. So something that came from the military, which they call an after action report, and that also evolves from agile, is the retrospective. So the retrospective basically kind of came from agile, where teams will work in 2 week sprints, and at the end of the sprint what they do is they take a step back and they ask three questions: what worked well, what didn't work well, and what can we do better next time. And so from there, what you do is you're, as a project team, you're constantly evolving and developing and moving forwards over the natural time that the team's working together, rather than getting to the end of the project and actually then doing a post-mortem. So it just means that teams are always kind of feeling more comfortable giving feedback to each other, identifying how they can improve. And a lot of organizations sort of describe themselves as learning organizations, but where does the learning actually happen? So for some reason, retrospectives often don't find their way into the natural operating rhythm of most teams, and that's for a variety of reasons. So number one is that most teams are always, with all their meetings, are forward looking. There's a constant feeling of progress. Another thing is that sometimes it can feel a little bit indulgent to take a step back and look backwards, but it's so important because often it's a form of taking a step back to actually take a big leap forward as well. So where can you use them? So they're not the exclusive domain of software teams and the military. You can use them to actually review your team meetings regularly. You can use them to review how your team actually dealt with a crisis, or you can even use them about how two teams actually worked together over a previous quarter, and that can be really impactful as well. So it's a really straightforward process, and it doesn't need to take a lot of time at all. You can actually get a pretty good retrospective done in 35 minutes if you're really organised and coordinated. So essentially, you put it into sort of 3 steps. So number one is you sort of set the context and kick the process off. So you actually sort of set the task. So it could be, how do we as a group work together last quarter? How have our team meetings gone? Sorry, dog walkers. And then what you do is you actually set a time. So you ask the questions: what should we keep doing? What should we stop doing? What should we start doing? And it's 10 minutes per question. And as a facilitator, what you do is you encourage people, once it kicks off, that everybody gets 10 minutes per question. And at the end of the 10 minutes, you just stop. And so if you encourage people to actually do 3 post-it notes, it means that people don't actually hold back, and just set it as a minimum. And what it does is it actually really democratizes feedback. So rather than it just being the opinion of the senior person what went well, everybody has a chance to input into it, and that's really quite impactful. So you can do it with remote teams, face-to-face teams, or even hybrid teams as well. You can use lots of technology. You can often use it on a flip chart or just on a wall. The most is have post-it notes. Good technology you can use for it is like Miro. You can use Jamboard. There's even sort of specific software designed for it, like Parable as well. And all work really well, but it's mainly just that the conversation actually happens. At the end of the 3 rounds, what you do is you then stop, and then you give everyone 5 minutes just to agree what the actions are of it as well. Now, over time, what happens is the team actually improves and get better and better at it, and the quality of the feedback they give to each other also improves. So often when you first start doing it, you'll often find that the feedback's quite surface level. So it's quite good as a facilitator just to keep an eye on it, and just to encourage people to go a little bit further as well. And the more times they do it, just the better they become at it as well. There's different ways of doing it. You don't just have to ask those 3 questions. There is liked, learned, lacked, and longed for, which is quite a nice methodology. Again, sort of similar kind of questions, but might just tease out different data. And there's a guy called John Cutler from Amplitude, and he sort of encourages retrospectives to be done around positive questions. So sometimes it can be hold back people if you ask them to sort of focus on the deficit. So if you can ask sort of positive questions like, how can we spend less time patching holes, or how can we be less reactive? What you're doing is you're actually inviting people to be more sort of solutions focused as well. So again, encouraging people in to give their input. So the best retrospective is the retrospective that you do. That's all we can say. Give it a try. Do put 35 minutes or 40 minutes in your calendar. Tell your team that this is just something that's proven. watch this video again, we'll signpost to a longer article that we've done on this as well, and that'll give you a few more specifics, and just try it, and then just let us know in the comments how it goes. We're really curious to find out the value that it creates for your team.